We're told every great game concept has already been explored. Clearly, nobody told these 8 devs. So check out this Now that I've got your attention, let me explain what you just saw. This is Far Far West, a roguelite shooter built by 8-man team at Evil Raptor and published by Fireshine Games. It's a perfect lesson in what actually makes a great video game. Visuals, audio, gameplay, and replayability. What these devs built out of pure passion is genuinely fantastic, and I want to break down exactly why. Let's start with the first thing that slaps you in the face, the visuals. Modern AAA studios are trapped in $1 billion arms race for ultra photorealism. They're spending years trying to push the boundaries of technology just to make sure that some random NPC you'll never see again has the most crisp individual nose hairs in video game history. Far Far West doesn't participate in that bullshit. Instead of chasing ray tracing and realistic graphics that are going to look outdated in a few years anyway, the team leaned into a hyper-stylized and vibrant visual identity. As you drop into the game, you realize that this isn't your traditional dusty western, but rather a truly Wild West, where the vibe is neon purple, electric blue, and toxic green. Oh, and also, you're a robot, who's also a wizard. It doesn't have to make sense. But brilliant art style doesn't mean anything if the world feels hollow and empty. And that brings us to the soundscape. In a high-velocity shooter, great audio design needs to do 2 things well at the same time. 1, it needs to give actions visceral weight. And 2, it needs to function as a secondary source of information for the player. And Far Far West absolutely nails both. The various soundtracks in the game, on their own, are already bangers. I had goosebumps during my first playthrough when that high-stakes track started blasting, while my friends and I scrambled to the extraction zone. On the flip side, the lethargic, acoustic western tune playing in the saloon perfectly sets the mood for your only safe haven on the frontier. Now, besides the music, the game does an excellent job of making every action have weight. Just take a moment to listen here. Every spell you cast, every gunshot, reload, dash, and every piece of the environment you interact with, they all have their own unique tactile snap to them, which goes very far in immersing you in the world. But the real mastery is the game's audio information system. When you're in the middle of a chaotic battle for survival, which you will be sooner or later, trust me, there's literally too much for your eyes to process. Hordes of enemies sprinting, flying, and shooting at you, your own spells causing absolute mayhem, and random weather modifiers trying to trip you up. In that environment, your eyes fail. Your ears are what actually save your run. The devs have made it so that different enemy variants and their attacks are easy to identify just by sound. Map objectives and collectibles also have their own audio DNA. It means you can play the game faster, entirely by instinct, because the audio layout is doing half the heavy lifting for your brain. That isn't just a banger soundtrack, that's brilliant structural engineering. And of course, none of this matters if the game isn't actually fun to play. Rest assured though, this thing is a beast. I'm not going to spoil all the guns and spells you can unlock during your playthrough, because honestly, you deserve to experience that surprise for yourself. What I will say is that even in early access, there's already a solid selection of weapons that each feel completely distinct. The spells give you a ridiculous amount of variety across different elements, allowing you to constantly combine and experiment to find your perfect build. But the real highlight here is the Joker system. Jokers are essentially modifiers that you can either equip to your loadout before a run, or find scattered out in the wild. This mechanic switches up the game every time you drop in, allowing you to engineer insane, broken builds. You can be a speed demon who scales damage based on velocity, or a pure cooldown reduction warlock raining down endless lightning. The choice is yours. You choose exactly how you want to rip through the undead hordes. Yet, what I found extremely special is the subtle polish that developers put into the game feel outside of the obvious mechanics. Watch the character model when you strafe left or right. The robot physically leans into the direction of your movement. It's a tiny design detail, one that most people might not notice at all. But the first time I jumped into the game, it pulled me into the experience so well. It makes your character feel weighted, responsive, and real, and I loved it. The core philosophy here is player freedom over restrictive balance. By combining fast physics, seamless spell synergy, and a variety of modifiers in the form of jokes, the game rejects the modern trope of locking you into rigid, heavily balanced roles. Instead, it hands you the reins and lets you ride your own path. And that raw mechanical freedom is exactly what feeds into our fourth and final section, replayability. Because Far Far West takes those expressive combat physics and wraps them in an incredibly addictive roguelike loop, where that classic just one more run feeling comes naturally. The real mastery of this loop is how the overall progression continuously alters your entire approach. As you unlock higher tier spells, you aren't just getting bigger damage numbers, you're actively unlocking entirely new ways to control the battlefield. An unlock might shift your strategy from a high mobility playstyle, focused on close quarters chaos, to a more passive Witch Doctor style. One who focuses entirely on keeping the team alive by siphoning enemy life straight into your allies. The weapon unlocks work exactly the same way. They allow you to modify the pace of your firefights. Unlocking a heavy, high-impact precision weapon lets you slow down the chaos, forcing a methodical, deliberate positioning style, where every single shot needs to count. Flip that coin, and unlocking a rapid-fire automatic weapon completely accelerates the tempo, pushing you into a hyper-aggressive, high-velocity flow state, where you're actively chasing down the horde. But what ties this whole progression loop together, and honestly, it feels so rare in 2026, is the cosmetic system. Every single skin in this game is earned purely through gameplay milestones and achievements. There's zero microtransactions, no battle passes, no hidden storefronts, and no predatory monetization designed to drain your wallet. At this point, I kinda want there to be paid cosmetics, since I think these devs have made something worth more than the game's price of admission. This is exactly why a long and complicated campaign doesn't always mean a more compelling game. When your systemic loops are this cleanly engineered, and your progression actively respects the player's time, the mechanical variety naturally builds its own narrative every single time you press start. So let's just bring it back to the original question. What actually makes a great video game? It isn't an overinflated AAA budget, a 1,000-person development studio, or lifelike sweat graphics on a character's face. It's a unified, artistic vision executed with extreme care and love for the project. Plus, a massive bonus for me personally, the top tier pop culture Easter eggs scattered around the map, proving that devs are just as big nerds as we are. Honestly, everything I've talked about so far is really just scratching the surface. There's so much left to discover, and uncovering those surprises firsthand is where the real magic of this game hides. What an 8-man development team pulled off here puts the entire mainstream publishing industry to shame. So stop doom scrolling, shut up, and go play Far Far West. See you out there.